Well, my name's Allan Gray. I'm the director for the Center for Food and Agricultural Business. I spend most of my time working with a staff of about 13, trying to develop, design, deliver executive education programs for the agribusiness industries. What we want to think about then is, as an individual, what are the capabilities that I currently have, and what capabilities do I need, or the people that work for me, what do they need in order for us to be successful in the future? And the difference between the capabilities we currently have and the capabilities we believe we have is a gap, what we call a strategic human capital gap. How are we going to close that gap? Well, once you start thinking about things like strategic gaps, that starts to sound like the same thing as what's the strategy of a business, right? And if we think about developing a business's strategy, one of the things that we clearly need to do in business strategy is define the goals of the company. There's an old adage about why do you define goals for a company? Because those things that get measured get done. Right? So what we're trying to do in business is set goals that are measurable so that we can measure our progress towards closing the strategic gap. That's the same thing in human capital, right? If we're talking about that we have human capital that has this set of competencies today, or capabilities, and we need this set of competencies or capabilities to successfully deliver on the company strategy, then how are we going to close that gap? We're going to close that gap by defining a set of goals that get us to better capabilities, that close the gap on the capabilities. So we should be developing professional development or human capital development goals that allow us to be more effective as managers and decision makers in the company. So when we think about developing our own capabilities or competencies to help close the gap that exists between where we are today and where we need to be, the first thing we need to remember is that in that self-reflection, it's really important to do a self-reflection of where do I need to be going, both for me professionally, personally, but also for my company. What are the things that I need to be able to do? And then we got to write those things down. What we need to do more than anything is write the goals down. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, I have these goals, and these are the things that I want to do to better myself. But what happens is, if you don't write them down, it's very easy to get to the end of the year and look back and say, yeah, I didn't really get that done, but that's okay. Nobody knows about it. I didn't write it down, right? And this is why I say, look, what gets measured gets done. If we write our goals down, I can almost assure you we're going to do everything in our power to pursue fulfillment of those goals. Okay? So, number one, write those goals down so that you're pressuring yourself to get them done. Now, secondly, once I've written them down, what am I going to do about them? How am I going to get them done? Well, one of the things that we know at the Center for Food and Agricultural Business about improving your capabilities or the human capital that you're trying to build up is that it takes a combination of things, right? Now, as educators, of course, obviously, we want to tell you that we're the most important part of developing your skills, and the honest truth is that's not really true. What we know from the research is that development of the person is really about 30% of it is really attributed to education. The things that we do. And 70% of it is about applying that education in your on-the-job sort of training, if you will, taking on responsibilities that stretch you and put you into situations that you're not comfortable with so that you learn and develop yourself better. So first of all, we want to recognize that you're as responsible and your company is as responsible for your development, or more responsible for your development than anybody. But there's that 30% that says education, right? The ability to really develop oneself through different ideas than what you might learn in your normal day-to-day job is really important for your development. Okay, how do we go about pursuing that part of it? Professional executive education programs. That's the most effective way that I can think of that we would do that. We should be pursuing executive education opportunities to mix with other people who have similar interests and similar ideas to share, to gain best practices, but more than best practices, that's useful, but I think new frameworks that we can use in a multitude of different settings are really important for us. And so we want to pursue educational opportunities that allow us to do that. the Center for Food and Agricultural Business is a place where we offer those types of programs. We focus on, yes, best practices, but we focus a lot on frameworks. And the center, I think, in its programs, whether it be our Structuring Decisions in Turbulent Times program or our Sales Management and Leadership program, our Strategic Agri-Marketing program, a number of other programs that we offer, all of those programs focus on how do we take frameworks that help frame our decision-making process and apply it in a setting like agribusiness, where we have a number of different moving parts, if you will,